All right, so we're going to be talking about scatter plots a lot. And what that is a comparison between two data sets that are usually both quantitative. This compares two quantitative data sets. It's the relationship between our two quantitative data sets. So two things that have numbers as our data is what it compares. Like, I feel like we kind of could at least somewhat know that one because scatter plots we've worked with forever. Ooh, that makes a fun noise. Love that. I love when people play with my stuff, even though it's my stuff. So much fun. Okay, so then what we're going to talk about is our correlational R value. We kind of saw that a little bit on Friday when we talked about R squared. We looked at those graphs, we looked at our R squared to figure out which one was stronger. And R squared both show which one's stronger. So this shows us the strength and it shows us when it's just the R, the trend. Of our data. You can think of it very similar to a kind of like a slope. So if we have a scatter plot that has a positive association, all that means is our trend is trending upwards. So a positive R value goes up. It's a positive slope. A negative association or a negative R value. I guess what this goes is super shocking information. If a positive association goes up, a negative association goes down. Or a negative slope. So here our R is positive. Here our R is negative. The next two are a little weirder numerically. But I'm going to draw my pictures first real quick. So we're going to think about two different pictures. And I'm going to do positive associations for both. So let's think about, let me get another color, do the dark blue and the teal. So we're gonna have something like this. And then something like this. So which one of these is a strong association? The dark blue or the light blue? The dark blue. So for a strong association, close together dots. They're closer to the line. What that means is R is closer to 1. Think of it again as kind of what percent closeness. It's going to be percent, so it's going to be a decimal. So this is probably a 0.98 R value. If it was a negative association, it's still going to be close, but it's going to be closer to -1. So we still think of it as kind of a percent, but it's going to be negative because it's falling. for our weaker association, which I'm going to do over here because I don't like it in the column. For our weaker associations, it's more of an ish. They're farther from the line. And our number is closer to 0. Again, if we think of it as its percent close, this would probably be 0.25. This is only 25% close if we have a line of best fit that looks like that. It's only 25% close to that line, because I can definitely see the line there. It's just not great. So what we're going to do is we're going to practice kind of comparing R values to graphs. And so if you go onto Canvas, I think this one does kind of work on your phone, but it works way better on the computer because the website's from like 10 years ago. If you go on your computer, there is a link that pulls up this kind of picture. And what it's going to do is it's going to have you practice matching R values.
Where do you get the numbers from?
So these ones, they give it to us, and we're just picking from these 4. Which ones kind of fit? Think of it as, again, as like the percent close. So it's only going to use these 4 numbers. So we're going to match the best that we have. So just to try it out, if we have positive 0.65, positive 0.53, negative 0.71, and negative 1, so remember, the negative numbers have a down slope and the positive numbers have an up slope. So which of these is going to be really easy to spot first? The number 3. Which one of these values matches number 3 best? I was like, because remember, we have to use these other 3 on the other 3 graphs. Is this one pretty, ooh, that color blends in with that box art. Pretty dang on close to that line. Isn't it pretty much darn near perfect? I would say this one is really, really close to negative 1. I agree, they probably should not have picked the absolute perfection because it's not truly aligned. But it's really darn close. And that means I know that it's not on any of those pictures. So then let's look at number 1. Which of these numbers might fit this graph? Negative 0.71. Because this one, again, if I try and eyeball a line of best fit, is going to give me a downward slope. So we know its R value has to be negative. So we know it's not on either of these. These 2 are definitely the hardest here. But again, if we think about it as how close to the line, which one is 65% close, which one is 50% close? So number 2, is it closer to the line or farther from the line? Closer to the line. So which of these numbers is closer to the line? The first one, the 65. It's 65% close. Is about, like, that's the easy way to think about it. That's not what R means. All right, like, it's got a stupid long name. But it gives us an idea. So then we can, by process of elimination, say that this one's probably the 0.53. So it's pulling from a random bank, and sometimes you do get some obnoxiously close ones like this. You kind of do your best. If you go on Canvas, I want you to practice these, see if you can get 8 in a row. Like 8 graphs in a row, right. So take like 5 minutes and practice matching the R values to the graphs. It's on Canvas. Let me see. I don't know that I have a web page over here. Boop. No, it's on the wrong screen. So on Canvas, the first link for today, underneath the scatter plot, because I do love a good meme, and I love a good relevant meme. Boop. So on our Canvas page, we're gonna go to Prime, which is a Spider-Man picture. I'm gonna click on the Unit 8 module. And then we'll scroll down to today, which is October 30th. Which I know it's really far down there because we have a lot of stuff creating, analyzing, and interpreting scatter plots. Oh, it's not the scatter plot today. I'm a little scattered today. I'm a little scattered. And then this first link, it says guessing correlations. We're going to take like 5 minutes. And you click on that link and it's going to pull up. It looks just like the one we had on our thing. Yours will have different numbers because it's pulling from a random bank. I want you to try and get a few of them correct because we're going to need to be able to match our values to stuff. Those kind of questions wind up showing up on things like the final a lot. We don't get to necessarily write our own final, but those kind of questions have a tendency to show up on the one we get from the state. So we want to practice with this while we still remember what this is, so hopefully our muscle memory can kick in. But these have shown up on the final 2 out of the 3 years that I've taught Prime, where we have to match our values. Not that we have to come up with it, but we have to match. This one probably has this one probably has that. Okay, so take like 5 minutes and do that. Then we're going to be getting into that second link that's on there. It'll give you a tiny little happy face next to it. It's really hard to see, but green is good and red is bad. Yes, dear. There you go, dear. Once you get 8 that are matched, go to the second link on today and try and create a line of best fit for the data set on the arm span versus cut height just below the link. So the data set's up there for arm span versus height, and we're going to create the line of best fit. We're going to find the R value, all that jazz. once you get your streak of 8, go and grab the data set for arm span versus height. It's in that same Canvas page, just below it. This data set on today's page is used in the homework for tonight. We're going to build the graph and equation that you're going to compare with tonight's data. Okay? So take just one more minute and keep working on those R values if you haven't reached your streak. And then open up this data set. Make your scatter plot. Arm span versus height. It does not matter where you put arm span or height. You just have to make a choice. Numbers are smaller. Oh, come on. All right. You're going to want to have this data set. It's on the Canvas page. I'm going to make it height on the y-axis because, to me, height is tall. So, and arm span is wide, so we can do it that way. This is our data from this year. I pulled our data from the survey we did around the room. This is us. Plus a couple people from Ms. Feedy's class. Because we needed a bigger data set. But this is us. So what we're going to do is we're going to try and find our line of best fit. The way we're going to do that is we're going to come over here to this ruler. And we'll click on the ruler. And I always recommend going with our movable line first. This lets us kind of try and figure out where we would put our line of best fit. Kind of play around with it. See how we can do on it. And then we can have the computer help us out. To have the computer help us out and see how close we got, we go back into that ruler and we're going to use our least squares line. Oh, mine was way off. Mine was way off. I'm real off. But that's okay. That's why we don't necessarily rely on humans to do it. Unless you want to do a whole least squares like the whole thing is gross. So I'm going to turn off my movable line and just leave my least squares line. And it gives us our equation. Again, just like we did on Friday with the car. Our car equation. I still even have it on the board. We can get the equation on someone's height based on their arm span. We could also solve it the other way around. We could figure out somebody's arm span if I know their height. Substitute in values and solve. Algebra 2 style. And we can see our R squared here. We've got 0.645, which we can see we've got our positive trending. And it's about 65% close-ish. They're close. They're not great, but they're close. And so this is our equation here. What we're going to do for tonight's assignment, you're looking at this data and comparing and seeing how would Michael Phelps, the swimmer, relate to our line of best fit. I give you his data in the homework assignment. He is 193 centimeters tall, and his arm span is 201. So he's not even height-wise on my chart. So I would need to scroll this down to kind of get a view, even up here. And we want to see if you guys can see where he's going to be in relation to the line And then if you come down and add his information to our table, which you can absolutely do. If you come down into our table, you can add another case just by entering into this bottom field. Okay, so this very bottom one, you can enter in a new arm span and a new height. Don't edit somebody else's stuff, but you can add another case and see what it changes. How does it change our line? Because is Michael Phelps probably likely similar to an Indiana high school student? Or as a 35-year-old professional athlete, is he probably an outlier for our data set? He's probably some sort of outlier. So we can kind of see how that's going to affect it when we have these big outliers like a 35-year-old professional athlete that wind up in our data set. Or it would be a very similar thing if I had a kindergartner try and join our data set too. They would not be among the average high schoolers' arm span or height. So you're going to look at the interactions between those two. What does an outlier do to a line of best fit? And that is the homework that is called arm span versus height. I want to say it's 8, 9. Like, I think it's like the last homework in the chapter. I go in the module and double check. Okay, but it uses this data set. Yeah, that's the last homework in the chapter. Everything else we're going to do is in-class stuff. Okay, we're not like done for the chapter, but we're getting there. So practice working with the data, playing with CODAP, seeing all these things in here. We can do some kind of cool stuff. You can come in here and look confidence man, so we can see all kinds of stuff. So where's our squares? Oh, squares and residuals. That's what it is. So these are the squares. When it says least squares line, it's looking for the smallest area here, the smallest distance between. But that's what it's looking at here. So I want you to play around with it, see if you can figure out what Michael Phelps would do. That is homework 8-9. It's arm span versus height. Or arm span versus height dash Michael Phelps. So this is our arm span versus height, comparing our arms versus our height. We have a couple that are identical. I bet we have a couple of double cases there. Yes. Thank you. Gentle with him. Don't use him as a battering ram. While I'm using it, would probably not help with the healing process.
He'll heal later. He got his hand with it for a while anyway.